Right now, people are still talking about the first presidential debate. And this morning, we are joined by Kristen Welker from NBC's Meet the Press. Kristen, good morning.
Hi, Christy. Good morning. Good to be with you.
Kristen, what are your takeaways from the debate?
Well, I can tell you that there's widespread panic within the Democratic Party about what happens next, about whether President Biden should stay in this race. One lawmaker saying this race is effectively over. Another party insider saying bluntly he cannot win. And the calls for him to get out of the race are growing louder. You have opinion pages all across the country basically saying it's time for him to pass the torch and that is a part of putting country over self. So the question is, what happens next? We know he's at Camp David this weekend. This was a previously scheduled trip. He was always going to discuss the state of the 2024 race at this trip with his family. But now, obviously, the debate will be front and center. Publicly, President Biden's been defiant. He says he's not getting out of the race. Top party leaders have said as much as well. Former President Obama has said he had a bad debate. It's time to move on. But we know that behind the scenes, the concern, the consternation is real, because remember how Democrats have framed this race. They say it is a fight for the soul of the democracy, that President Trump poses a threat to the democracy. So with the stakes that high, can they continue to take this risk with President Biden? So there are a lot of unknowns this morning and this weekend, and this is clearly the stakes of all of these conversations could not be higher. But I'm told, based on my conversations, ultimately the decision's just going to come down to President Biden and to Jill Biden, the First Lady. What do they decide? What do they think is best for the country and best for them? We'll have to wait and see, Christine.
A lot of people in the Democratic Party weighing in. And this morning on the show, you'll be hearing from one of Georgia's U.S. Senators, Raphael Warnock. What do you expect him to say?
I think he's going to defend President Biden. I think he's going to talk about his record and say that, look, we've got to move on from this 90 minutes and focus on the record of the president. I think he'll be robust in his defense. There's no doubt about that. But look, I also think that the question becomes, and as you point out, he is someone who is in the spotlight. And if Biden were to step down, he's one of the people who's getting buzz for potentially replacing him. There are other names as well. Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom. How do all of these folks feel about being in the mix, being named as potential replacements to President Biden? There's no doubt this is just an incredibly difficult, challenging moment for the Democratic Party. So we're looking forward to that conversation with Senator Raphael Warnock.
And on the Republican side this morning, you'll be talking to Governor Doug Burgum, who says former President Trump had a strong performance on the debate stage. So we have a lot more to look forward to in your conversations this morning on the show. Kristen, thanks so much. Meet the Press airs at 10 right after 11 Alive Weekend Morning News.